I found myself in a very rare situation whenever I hit 30 years old. I was able to retire. In this video, I'm going to share the most important principles that allowed me to achieve that. And you can borrow them and use them in your life to fast track your retirement. Now, I'm not wanting to get you to a place where you don't do any work. Humans weren't designed for full-time recreation. You were designed for a life full of challenge and also full of rest and recovery and support. And I want to make sure that you set yourself up to never worry about money again. I'm not going to give you financial advice. I'm going to give you really potent lessons and wisdom that essentially I have learned at a very young age. So let's get stuck in. The first thing that you need to do is your future self math. Here's the thing. Vague goals will create anxiety. Clear, focused goals will give you direction. And it's important that you have direction and know what you're focusing on when you put yourself at risk, when you put yourself into a working environment, when you work those long hours. You need to have a vision of what the future is like. Because here's the thing, when your vision of the future is better than your current reality, that's when life gets better. So the first thing with the future self math is to get clear on what you need to survive, but also incorporate what you want. And more importantly, realize that you're the only person that controls that expectation. Now let's start with the first exercise. And I want you to get a piece of paper and do this with me. So let's do some math for your future self. I want you to create two columns. One is going to be household bills, and the other one is going to be lifestyle expenses. Household bills are going to be your average electric, your mortgage, your home heating oil, gas, whatever it is that you use, general maintenance, all that kind of stuff. Get that dialed in to the penny. So go and look at the last 6 months or so of your bank statements, your credit card statements, and identify all the personal expenses. I want you to do this while you're watching this video, okay? So don't be afraid to pause it and continue on. Get clear on what that is on average per month. The next column is your lifestyle expenses. Go through your receipts, go through your bank account and figure out what you've spent on entertainment, clothes, nights out, socializing, all of that kind of stuff, all right? Even your other half, and get clear on what that is. I want you to add those two figures together to get your current reality, right? That is your current liability every single month, i.e. the money that you need to live the life that you're currently living. Now I want you to work out your dream lifestyle number and do this on a separate page. Here's what you need to do. Get your current household and day-to-day living expenses dialed in for the month. Get that figure clear. I want you to add your current lifestyle expenses multiplied by a factor of 2 to 10 based on how extreme you want to go. The reason why you do this is really simple. If you look at your current lifestyle expenses and you look at your future lifestyle expenses, they are going to either be the same if you want to maintain the current lifestyle and materialistic things and holidays and all that kind of stuff aren't for you, or you're going to have lifestyle creep. Lifestyle creep is when you start making more money and you start enjoying more experiences, more holidays, you start buying more expensive clothes, eating in more expensive restaurants. Everybody is different and your unique style, taste, and needs are different to everyone else's. So get clear right now on what an ideal month would look like. What would you buy? What clothes would you buy? What restaurants would you go and eat in? Would you get a larger house? What do you think the mortgage in that would be? This is going to take a little bit of thought. And don't be afraid to put a figure down, but if you are going to put a figure down, normally increase it slightly just to give yourself that little bit of extra accountability, just in case you underestimate things. As humans, we've got a great habit of underestimating how much things cost. So it's always better to have more than to have less. Once you've calculated your current household bills, what it takes to put the lights on, and you've added your future self expenses, multiply by a factor of 2 to 10 depending on how lavish you want to live, I then want you to get that number and I want you to multiply it by either 1.5 to 3. And this is purely for additional tax. This is for extra surprises. And this just gives you a little bit of extra buffer to provide protection, safety, and what I call a trampoline fund. That will give you your dream lifestyle number, i.e. the amount of money that you want to spend to live life on your terms without a care in the world about how much things cost. And that is going to be different for everyone. Now, here's the main thing. The goal is to make that money as passively as possible. And you do that by building your own empire of assets, whether it's business, whether it's investments, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. Let's go to the next point. Number 2 is to focus on building one killer income stream that makes money without you. This goes against the grain of millionaires have multiple income streams. This goes against what it says in Think and Grow Rich. Here's the truth. The more business ventures that you go into, the more distracted you're going to be. When you are starting out or when you're on the climb, the most important thing is your focus. And if your focus is scattered across multiple different businesses, you are going to be a jack of all trades, master of none. Pick one area that you want to specialize in and build your reputation to become the best paid in that area. Build the team around you to allow that business to make money without you and allow them to make decisions to grow that business without you, and keep that as your main focus. Rather than building one business, thinking you need to jump into another, all of those stop starts and context switching between business are going to drink bandwidth and they are going to slowly destroy you. Of course, there are outliers there with multiple streams of income. I'm not against that, but what I am against is when you're on the climb up, thinking that you need 101 businesses and labeling yourself as a serial entrepreneur to be successful. Pick one area, become a master of it, and focus on pulling yourself out of it so that it cash flows and makes money without you. Then use that money to step into other areas. Diversify your income streams once you have mastered the cash flow of the thing that you are amazing at, and then use that cash as seed money to open new businesses, step into new opportunities, and play a bigger game. That's what I did with my coaching business. I used my coaching business to make a ton of cash, and I now use that cash to play a bigger game and invest in things that bring me a passive return. Number 3, invest every penny that you have into your main opportunity vehicle. Your main opportunity vehicle is what I said in point number 2. The one thing that you love, the one thing that you're amazing at, the one thing that you're better at than everybody else. Put all the money back into skills, building a team, building the right tech, building the right automations, building the right culture. Put all of your money into your main thing, because that is the area of life and business that you know better than anybody else, rather than putting it into a new business. And the only time you diversify is when you build that team and you actually don't need to be there to run it anymore. You know, whenever I was first starting out in business, I made the mistake of thinking that I needed to invest in an ISA. I made the mistake of thinking I need to invest in stocks and shares, into property, into crypto, into venture capital, when I hadn't actually got my main business stable and cash flowing. I was depleting the business of valuable cash that could be used to buy back my time with great team members. I was depleting the business of valuable cash that could be used to advertise and get our name out there. And by the way, when you advertise to the market, you're actually advertising to people that are going to give you money. So marketing, especially when you put money behind it, is actually the business of acquiring more money. So you put 100 quid in, 1,000 quid in, whatever it is, and you get a customer that pays you 3K, 4K over time, refers their friends, and that leads to way more business. And especially in an area that you truly understand, that is where your real wealth is going to be created. So don't mess around thinking that you need to go into property, you need to go into stocks and shares. Only do that when you've got your main thing stable and you can afford to do it. Don't do it early, no matter what any financial advisor tells you. And if you want to know what skills to invest in, number 1 is mindset. Know how to coach yourself, know how to reframe chaos, fear, all of the challenges inside your head. One of the most important mentors in my life was Dr. John Demartini. He taught me how to look at pain. He taught me how to look at challenge. He taught me how to look at fear. He taught me how to look at everything that life would throw at you when you start climbing to bigger levels. And he taught me a process that ultimately reshaped how I saw the world. So I look at challenges very differently to how most people look at them. And I really encourage you to invest in books, courses, education on how to think better and navigate the world. Learn how to market, learn how to get yourself out there, learn how to get your story, your skills, your knowledge, and be able to communicate it and articulate it out there. I spend money every 90 days on coaching lessons so that my language is crisp and clear. I'm from Belfast in Northern Ireland, so I can talk really coarse if I really, really want to. But I remember the one time that I went on stage and I could see people scratching their head, or even worse, putting their hand up and going, "Hey Phil, can you repeat this?" So forget the Northern Ireland accent and let me talk to you in this crisp, clean, clear, straight to the point accent that is really intentional. It's intentional because I want to communicate my message in the fastest, most direct, and clearest way. Number 4 is build a trampoline fund. One of my great friends, Sharan Sharista, taught me to do this. Trampoline fund is simply this. If you are a high-risk individual, work out what you need to live for 6 months. Every expense, personal and lifestyle, multiply it by 1.5 to give yourself, again, that little bit of margin. Make sure that is in your bank account. Do the same for business, operational expenses, etc. The ability to handle a storm if it comes there. You probably heard your mom call it the rainy day fund. This is it. If you're low risk and you don't want to take on a lot of challenges and risk and you just like feeling stable, have 12 months worth. The reason why this is important is because when you're not focused on going broke, you make better decisions because you're coming from a place of, hey, I can afford to put food on my table for me, my family, and my kids. I can afford to pay my team. I can afford to have a lifestyle. I'm not on the knife's edge. Don't get me wrong, being on the knife's edge can sometimes be really useful for driving action, but it's not a nice feeling long term. So make sure you've got a trampoline fund that you can spring from if shit hits the fan and doesn't work out. I personally always have 12 months of living expenses and business expenses in my business and my personal accounts so that 1, I feel safe, 2, I can be sound of mind and make better decisions. And 3, I've also got a little bit of cash there that if I want to jump on an opportunity, I can. All the rest of my money is put into investments or put into things that I love. Simple as that. Number 5 is to know your exit plan. This is something that confused me for a long time. And if you're a business owner, please listen to this very carefully. Whenever you are building your business, there is going to be a possibility for you to sell it. And that increases when it doesn't rely on you as an individual and it's built around a team and there's a market of buyers that would value from having your business and acquiring it. The other exit is when you outgrow the business and you don't want to be in it anymore, but you build the leadership team of capable individuals to run that business without you, and you give them a proportion of the funds and you incentivize them with things like profit share and other things like that. So they wake up in the morning incentivized to grow it for you and most importantly for themselves. And that is when you can walk away because you give ownership to your team. That is what I did. The reason why I did that was really, really simple. 1, the business is a cash cow. It feeds investments, it feeds my lifestyle, and I want a team to run that. I don't want to sell it because there's not many buyers for it. 2, there's a part of me that's still involved in it, even though I've got the team. We're in the process of uncoupling that. It's important to realize that the cash flow of that is going to feed my bigger game versus me having to have a buyout period, versus me getting hit with a massive capital gains bill. When I weighed it up for the multiple that I could get from my coaching business, it just didn't sit well with me. And that's the path that I've chosen. So make the decision between building to exit or building a team and exiting yourself by retiring and sitting on the board and simply just collecting a paycheck every month that you can put into your lifestyle and your investments and long-term wealth building. Number 6 is don't buy things to impress people that you don't like. I'm gonna say something that's gonna trigger a few people, but if you go into most designer shops, especially where I'm from in Belfast, Northern Ireland, which wouldn't really be considered one of the most wealthiest cities in the world, but if you go into those places, and you know where I'm talking about, the flannels, the Selfridges, all that kind of stuff, you will actually find people that are borderline broke, that would not have 6 months or 12 months living expenses to their name, but are going in and paying $500 plus for a stupid Balenciaga t-shirt, or $1,000 for a stupid pair of Louis Vuitton shoes, or heck, even worse, $7,000 plus for a Louis Vuitton bag that costs the guts of 50 quid to make. Why are they buying those things? They're buying those things to look good on social media because they're symbols of wealth. But the problem is that money would be far better off invested into skills. So you really have to detach from what everybody else thinks and focus on investing into yourself, building your skills and increasing your own value and getting to a point where you've then got the extra cash to enjoy that without compromising your future. Because $7,000 to somebody that doesn't have 6 months or 12 months living expenses is literally stealing from their future to fuel their insecurity now. And that is not a good thing. Let me tell you a little bit about my past and a decision that I made that literally bought me light years in time and brought me forward a lot more. When I was on the climb, I bought a brand spanking new Audi A5 S-Line. It was beautiful, it was awesome. I was super young in my 20s, it looked good, it turned heads. Everybody in the gym was like, how the fuck can he drive this? I plowed my money into a brand new car and then went to sell it and realized that it depreciated massively in value. Now, here's the thing. it came around to getting a new car. And I said to myself, okay, I've just lost that amount of money and I'm now getting a new car. And this is where the new car had to be better than the previous car. But here's what I said to myself. And this was during the initial stages of growing Fitness Entrepreneur and my business. I value my business and my future more than what people think of me in my current car. I don't need to impress anyone. I want to impress myself. I gave up driving for 3 years. Do you know why? Because all I wanted to focus on was building my future, building my business. And it paid off. Now you're probably thinking, how did you drive? I always got lifts, and every time I was getting a lift, I worked in the car. I didn't want the distraction of having a car to go out and meet friends and do everything. Yes, it was a hermit lifestyle. I don't recommend it. Long term, it's not sustainable, but it allowed me to fast track my life because I used the capital to pay for advertising. I used the capital to pay for my initial first team members. Build a life that was solely built around just buying a car to get the looks and opinions and thumbs up from people that I would never ever spend the rest of my life with, or attract the jealousy of people that didn't want to see me do well. It was just a distraction. And like any car, once you get it, you desensitize to it. So your goals need to be bigger and better. That's why I committed to building my future. And now I'm in a position where I can buy whatever I want. I have an SF90, I have a Porsche Taycan, I have a Defender, I have a G-Wagon. I have all of that stuff because of the little sacrifices like that. Heck, even back then, all I wore was £3 t-shirts. In fact, I'm still wearing one today, along with tracky bottoms. I don't care what other people think of me. And that takes a strong amount of courage. Don't get me wrong, I have some beautiful things, but there are things that are really important to me. So buy stuff that's important to you and important to the people that matter, and don't be buying things to look good on Instagram, period. It will deplete your wealth and it will hold you back from really living the life that you want. Anytime you make a decision to impress somebody else, you shed years of your life, years of time, years of opportunity to essentially just impress somebody that doesn't give a fuck about you. Number 7, don't invest in things that you don't understand. There will come a point where you have surplus cash and you will see what your friends are investing in. You will see like news that cryptocurrency is going mad, and you will feel the pressure to put money into something. Investing in stuff that you don't understand is called one thing: gambling. Don't do it. The odds are against you. Number 8, understand the different lenses of investing. When you go to invest, and you only do this when you've got surplus profit outside your business that you can afford to lose. And by the way, when you lose it, you can actually write it off as a tax deduction against the company that you've invested through. So there's win-wins with that too as well, but that's for another video. When you invest in something, understand these lenses. Number 1 is alignment and understanding. Are you aligned with the investment? Do you understand the investment? So for example, I am not going to go and invest in a brand new airplane company in South Africa. Why? Because I don't understand South Africa and I don't understand airplanes. So don't invest in stuff that you aren't aligned with. Don't invest in stuff that you don't understand. Number 2 is capital appreciation. Over time, how much is it going to appreciate? So something like a property is going to appreciate over time. Sometimes they double in value over 10 years, but the value is locked inside the asset that you can't access unless you remortgage at a later point or sell down. Number 3 is going to be tax benefits. There are certain investments that will protect your money against tax drag. Tax is one of the biggest expenses that you will have, so understand that you want to look at the tax implications or benefits of an investment. Number 4 is going to be cash flow, and I assume because you're watching this video, you're going to be slightly younger. The beautiful thing about that is that you have got time on your side. So cash flow isn't necessarily the main thing that you're after. I have an incredible mentor called John Gian, does hundreds of millions a year with his property business, and he told me at my age when I was 30 that my main interest wasn't cash flow. It was a combination of capital appreciation and a tiny bit of cash flow, so that when I was older, i.e. 20, 30 years, that I could take advantage of the capital appreciation and do more with it in my life. And last but not least, you've also got liquidity, which is a very important factor. That's the ability for you to draw those funds down and use them. A house takes a long time to get the money out of it. By the time you take into account the sale, the legals, the chain of buyers, versus the stock market, which is instantaneous, and other investments. So please understand that those are the lenses that you need to be looking at before you invest in something. So if you're in your early 30s, you ideally want something that you can access relatively fast, that has good capital appreciation, that has good tax benefits, something that you're aligned and excited and, well, quite frankly, are interested and understand. They are very important factors and show signs of capital appreciation over time. The vehicles for building wealth, well, did you actually know that the number one vehicle for creating wealth is actually inheritance? But besides that, you've got the stock market. The stock market, outside of entrepreneurial activity, has created more millionaires than anything else. The long-term returns on the stock market are 10% before inflation. And essentially, your money doubles every 7 years. But don't get me wrong, the stock market can be highly volatile, it can take huge swings, but in the long term, it yields a pretty steady 9 to 10%. Another favorite of mine is property. Why? Well, houses appreciate over time. They usually double every 10 years. You can put tenants into them, they can cash flow, and also you can take a mortgage out on them. You can finance them. This means that you don't have to put down all of your money and you can let your tenants pay it off. You can pay an interest-free mortgage. And also bearing in mind, if you buy it cash, you can refinance it down the line when it's worth way more and pull all of your original money out and then have your tenants pay it down. So it can be quite smart. It can require a lot of money. There are expenses and hassle and management involved, but you can delegate that. And there are downsides to owning a property. It's illiquid. That means you're not going to get your money out fast, which could cause problems. And also there's hidden expenses with management and refurbs and everything else, including tenant vacancies and really weird tenants that don't pay. You've then got venture capital, which is betting on individual businesses, super high risk because it depends on the leadership structure of the business and how it's set up and the market opportunities and legals and all kind of stuff, which a lot of stuff can go wrong with. You've then got cryptocurrency. Look, if you believe in it, if you understand it, if you truly know it and you're like behind it, go for it. I put a little bit of money into cryptocurrency just to give you an idea. Around 2.5% of my investment budget is in cryptocurrency, but it's not my main thing, because I don't truly understand it, nor want to understand it like all the other stuff that has got a proven track record and that I understand and have access to. And more to the point, only invest what you can afford to lose. And just bear in mind, if you lose money in an investment, you can always write it off as a tax deduction depending on how you've got your company set up. That's why it's super important to have a really good accountant behind you and your business. Number 9 is to use debt wisely. Do not be afraid to get a mortgage on your house. Some people like to think, oh, I bought my house cash. Well, when you look at the amount of tax that you pay to take out money from your business into your personal account and you start entering higher rates of tax, why would you be paying 45% plus when you could mortgage it and pay anything from 3, 4, 5, 6%? Who knows where rates are at the time you're watching this video. But long story short, you will save money by mortgaging your house because debt erodes in relation to inflation, and inflation is rising every single year and is pretty steady. And you've also got to realize that houses also go up in value, which means that it also erodes the debt that you took out on the house in the first place. And you're not paying a fortune in tax. Why would you just aimlessly take out the money to pay your house down and pay it all to the government when you could slowly drip feed it over time, or run expenses through your business, or buy more things for your business and deplete it? Don't do that. Use debt to your advantage. Number 10 is don't hoard your money. It's there to be spent. Money loves being exchanged. So here's a really important lesson from my life. I set a vision to build a great house and have a great life. And in order to do that, I had to save money. So I hoarded my money for a period of time between when I was 28 to when I was 33, and I built up a substantial pot of money that I then deployed all at once into my dream home, into my dream lifestyle, because I had 1, created a business that was generating the cash. I had 2, got myself out of the business at least 85%, so I had a lot of freedom to enjoy the money. And 3, my business was still running and I was making the money, and I used the money to buy the life that I had wanted for myself. And I created an enriched environment, an environment where I could create from, grow from, and it was essentially the identity that I wanted to step into as an entrepreneur. And you've got to look at your identity and ask yourself, does how you show up, does how you dress, does how you live match your identity? And I was able to complete that identity by doing those things. So I wanted to understand that over the course of my life, I hoarded for a period of time and then deployed strategically. I used to wear like these £3 t-shirts.
Even t-shirts with holes in them?
Even t-shirts with holes in them. I stopped driving for 3 years to preserve capital, to preserve distractions, to preserve capital, to eliminate distractions and grow my business. So realize that your money shouldn't just be collecting in your bank account and rotting, use it. And I talk about this term a lot with clients. It's called forced evolution. I sometimes like to buy things that put me out of my comfort zone. I sometimes like to create voids in my bank account knowing I've just had a big expense and I've got to work hard to fill it. So understand that money is there to be enjoyed. When you spend money on the things that you love, it raises your identity and your ability to operate and enjoy the world. And most importantly, any money that you don't spend is unused experiences, fun, love, opportunity, and skill. But it's spending it at the right time. It's spending it when you know you can, and not just hoarding it because you're afraid of going broke and like looking at the number on your bank balance. I made the mistake earlier on in my career of having this fixation of looking at the number on my bank account, and I didn't truly value using that cash for investments, for my life, for enjoyment, for investing in my business, until I realized that money loves to be exchanged. And it loves to be put into things that create more value. And by the way, buying designer clothes, buying watches, buying cars might be something that you value, might be something that excites you, but don't do it until you've built a business that cash flows and you've used that cash flow to create investments that are going to appreciate over time, that are going to give you cash flow benefits, that are going to give you tax benefits, that are aligned and essentially are investments that you understand, and most importantly, are going to create future opportunity. Remember, money is time. The more money you have, the more time you own. So you have a responsibility to steward it correctly. So I hope that's been useful. Remember, you control the expectation between what you want and what you need, nobody else. Stay committed to building your wealth. I hope these lessons have been useful. I'd love to hear in the comments below what has been the most insightful lesson for you. And please don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and also share this with your friends that need to hear it. Until the next video, see you soon.